Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Amma ba'du fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. قل أوحي إلي أنه استمع نفر من الجن فقالوا إنا سمعنا قرآنا عجبا يهدي إلى الرشد فآمنا به ولن نشرك بربنا أحدا وأنه تعالى جد ربنا ما اتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا وأنه كان يقول سفيهنا على الله شططا وأنا ظننا أن لن تقول الإنس والجن على الله كذبا وأنه كان رجال من الإنس يعوذون برجال من الجن فزادوهم رهقا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم دائما أبدا أبدا على حبيبك خير خلقه محمد وآله وأصحابه وأهل بيته وعترته وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. Respected brothers and sisters and my dearest children, I would like to welcome everyone to our weekly series of Seeratul Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, lesson number 29. And Alhamdulillah, we have moved on and we have now arrived at the situation where Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went to Taif. But in the background, we have to understand that why Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam chose to go to Taif. Taif, in fact, is another one of the big cities along with Makkah, and the Quraysh, they had very good relationship with Taif in the past with business and so on, and in fact some marriages also between the tribes. So it was, a familiar ground basically. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as we have learned in the last few lessons, that him and his Sahaba, they are facing great hardships. Every single type of trial the Quraysh tried on Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his companions. And verbally, they tried to torture them, mentally, physically, and the physical tortures, we learned how severe they were when we look at the stories, and we looked at the stories of Hazrat Bilal radiallahu an, Hazrat Khabbab radiallahu an, and Hazrat Sumayya radiallahu anha, and so many others who went through such torture that we cannot imagine. And then, as the time is going, it is now, I'm just giving a little bit of background now to why Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went to Taif. Because after all these hardships and sacrifices, it is around the 6th or 7th of Nabuwa, not Hijri yet. In fact, 6 years or 5 years of Nabuwa has passed. And then the 6th year of Nabuwa came up with terrible trials for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And in fact, it is also known as the year of the Huzn. This is a year of sadness and grief. Because why? Because Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who had two big supports, one internal support of his wife Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. And the second, the external support of his uncle, even though he was not Muslim, Abu Talib. So all of a sudden, Abu Talib became ill. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam became very concerned, and he went to Abu Talib, who had served him all the way along, because he was his real uncle, if you like. And, if you look in the background, the grandfather of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Abdul Muttalib, he had 5 wives, in fact. And so from one of those wives, it was his father and Abu Talib. So these two of them, they were real brothers. This is why after the death of the grandfather Abdul Muttalib, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's custody was and taking care of was taken by the real uncle, who was Abu Talib. But because of the pressure of the tribes and other tribes of Quraysh, he unfortunately did not, accept Islam. But he was there as full support for him, external full support for him. In fact, Allah Ta'ala has created that situation where Abu Talib actually provided the full support to him. But all of a sudden, he became very ill. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was very concerned. He tried right at the end very hard so that Abu Talib would read the kalima. He said, even if you, oh my uncle, if you will read it in my ears, then I will be able to be witness for you in the hereafter. But unfortunately, Abu Talib did not accept Islam right to the end, with the fear of his, what people will say, that he gave in to his nephew. And but in reality, Allah Ta'ala revealed the verses of the Quran, innaka la tahdi man ahbabta walakin Allah yahdi man yasha. That the hidayat and guidance, it is only in the hands of Allah Ta'ala. No one can guide someone. No one can give the opportunity or ability to any individual in this dunya, in the world, in the creation of Allah Ta'ala, except Allah Ta'ala. He is the whole powerful. He is ala kulli shayin qadir. He is the one who is controlling everything. And Allah Ta'ala actually looks at the inside before he gives the opportunity. If the person from inside has the talab or the desire that, yes, I want to do this, then Allah Ta'ala, the hidayat and guidance of Allah Ta'ala comes from. But Abu Talib unfortunately had this fear, and in the end Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tried very hard that please say it in my ear, and quietly, secretly, but still he didn't do it. And Allah Ta'ala then revealed this, that hidayat is in my hand. You cannot give hidayat. So even Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has a very high rank, he is above all the other prophets, and he is the highest after Allah Ta'ala, but still he doesn't have the power to give guidance to anyone. He has the power to make the effort. He has the power to struggle and give sacrifice for Deen and Islam, but that is his limit. And after that, everything is in the hands of Allah Ta'ala. Right? So one big blow for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was the loss of his uncle Abu Talib. And then within, he was just trying to recover from this, because, this was a big impact, because all around the enemies who were trying very hard to somehow or other stop him and are making him go through these different difficult trials. Abu Talib, the uncle, was a big shield for that. He was protecting him. And all of a sudden, this shield was gone. So you can imagine what tough situation was. On one side, he is completely heartbroken because he's lost someone very dear, and he's lost someone who has given him all the support from the age of 8 years. From 8 years now, almost 40 years of support the uncle has given him. So all of a sudden he's lost that. And the second big sadness for him was that he has gone without Islam, and now he is left out in the open. There is no one from outside who can give support. The only now support he has is his wife Khadija and his family, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. But unfortunately, it just so happened Allah Ta'ala probably planned it that way, that within 2-3 months after the death of the uncle, the wife Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, who was the internal, and if you remember way back when when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became the prophet, if you remember, she was the first woman, first person, in fact, in Islam to come into the fold of Islam and to provide full support to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to give that support when he came back frightened from the cave after seeing for the first time Jibreel alayhi salam. So she was there for him, and she has been there for him in every possible way. Now all of a sudden he has lost her also. She also passed away. Right? So this is the year of the huzn, year of grief. It's known as that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has lost both the internal support and the external support. Now he's out in the open. But of course, Allah Ta'ala is there for him. Allah is the one, and Allah Ta'ala created this situation all the way along the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We find to give this image to the entire humanity until Yawmul Qiyamah, that the real support of a person is not father, not mother, not uncles. These people are there for us, and we should cherish them, and we should value them and respect them and honor them. But in the reality is that the only protection is from Allah Ta'ala. Allah is the one who actually protects. So he is all alone now. So when in this situation now, obviously the people of Quraysh, the other tribes, which include one of his other uncle, Abu Lahab, don't forget, he's also trying very hard to create problems and difficulties for him. But however, under these circumstances, for a little while, he came forward that you've lost your uncle. Don't worry, I am also your uncle. I'm going to give protection for you. Because, the protection was important in this tribal system of Makkah. If you had protection, then no one could dare attack you. No one could come near you. But if you were not protected, then you were in trouble. Right? So Abu Lahab came forward, but still he was an enemy. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam felt that now it's getting to a situation where it's going to be very tough living in Makkah, because he didn't know that how far Abu Lahab would go, and so he decided secretly, and this is the background, he decided secretly to go to Taif, and he undertook this journey. We talked about in lesson number 28 that he went secretly, and there the tribe of big tribe of Banu Saqif are there. Three brothers, in fact, they are the leaders of that tribe. They are three brothers. I think their name have also been mentioned. One of them probably Habib, and different three. There were three brothers anyway, and they were ruling this big tribe of Banu Saqif. Rasulullah Sallallahu first went to them as leaders and said, "Look, uh, I have not no support in Makkah. I have come and I would like you to take me in your protection and custody." But unfortunately, as we learned last week, that they were very rude, and they in fact became very arrogant, and they started taunting and cursing Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and they said, you have no room here, just go away. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because he had come secretly, he said to them, okay, if you are not ready to give me the protection, then at least don't mention that I came to you. So they said, no, we are going to tell everyone. So they became very rude and vulgar. And in fact, then they called the slaves and children, and they said, throw this person out of from our city. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as we learned, he was stoned, and they threw him out, and he went outside, and he was covered in blood from head to foot, right? And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tried to look for somewhere where he could save himself and protect himself, and he ended up finding this garden, which belonged to these two brothers who were obviously also not Muslim, but they knew him, Utbah and Shaiba, these two brothers. He went into that garden, which was full of grapes and so on. So these two brothers, they had seen what had happened to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and how the people of Banu Saqif, they actually treated him. So they felt a little bit of sympathy for him, and they sent uh, they sent sorry, excuse me. Sent their servant. There was a slave which they had. His name was Addas. We learned in the last lesson that Addas came. They gave him some grapes in a plate, and they said, take this to him. He looks very disturbed. So they actually became a little bit hospitable, but although they were not ready to accept the Islam, but they still treated him. So Addas came, and Addas was one of those people who was actually a slave, but he wasn't from Mecca, or he wasn't from this. He was from one of the small town of Iraq, and where Yunus al-Islam had come. So when he brought the grapes, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam took the grape and said, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So when he heard these words of Quran and Islam, he said, I've never heard any people of Makkah saying things like this. What is this? And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam explained that I'm a prophet, I'm a messenger. And Addas, he said, he asked Addas, where are you from? And he mentioned a city in Iraq. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, oh, you belong to the city of my brother Yunus al-Islam. When he mentioned Yunus al-Islam, he was surprised and shocked, and he fell in the feet of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he accepted Islam. So at least, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam felt some comfort that out of all this big ordeal of Taif, something came out of it, and Addas, one person became Muslim. And this is also something very important we need to understand, brothers and sisters and children, that in Hadith, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned, in fact, that even if one person is guided because of our efforts, Even one person gets hidayat from Allah Ta'ala, because and we become the means of that, then that may be enough for our forgiveness from Allah Ta'ala. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a little bit comforted. Anyway, and then he made this famous dua, because Jibreel Islam came with the angel and tried to say that I have got the angel of mountains, and he is here ready for your order to crush these people in between the valley. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam refused, and he said, no, I'm not going to make curse them, because I have hope from their generations. Right? So this happened. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam very disheartened, very disappointed, very tired, and you can imagine his situation now. And the only one he has with him is his adopted son, Zaid bin Haritha. He's with him, of course, and now they are going back towards Makkah. But going back towards Makkah also is a big hurdle now for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because there is no support there. No one is there for him. No one. Abu Lahab also, he has come out of his protection. He left. So now he doesn't know what to do, basically. And in this situation, Allah Ta'ala has made another plan. Right? So they are walking back, and they arrive at this valley of Nakhla. Right? They're still there, in fact, Nakhla near Makkah. So they arrived there, and it is the night time. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam decided to, and of course, he is a prophet. And one thing which was, very outstanding in the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that he never missed his tahajjud, qiyamul layl. No matter whether he was inside the city or outside, in safar or in a journey or whatever, and whatever his condition, like at the moment his condition is so bad that he's covered in blood and all that, but still, when the time came for the tahajjud salat in the qiyamul layl, he started his tahajjud. And the tahajjud of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wasn't just like we would just if we get a chance to get up in the middle of the night sometimes, then we will say, okay, I will quickly perform the tahajjud salat because I've heard so much about it. And we would say, oh, inna atayna and qul huwallahu ahad, right? So we would read these small surahs, but the tahajjud of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was of course maybe 1 or 2 hours, 1 or 2 hours of long, and he was reading the Quran, and the Quran with tajweed, and the Quran with the emotions. And at this moment where his situation is that he's very disheartened, you can imagine how he's reading the Quran. So Allah Ta'ala, so he's reading the Quran, right? And this is the time where a group of jinnat now, jinnat, they are walking past this area. And now we hear about jinnat, so we need to know a little bit about what jinnat are. So jinnat are actually, another creation of Allah Ta'ala, in exactly the same way as the creation insan. Allah has created insan, and Allah has created jinn. And jinn, actually, the literal meaning of jinn, little bit of so that we can understand. Jinn actually means something hidden, and the reason for that is we can't see them. Now the creation, these two creation of Allah Ta'ala, insan and jinnat, they are both Allah has put in this earth. And insan has the priority, or the big element in the creation of insan is earth and clay. And in the same way, the big element in the creation of jinnat is fire. And because of that, we can't see them, but they can see us, right? So, but they also have a jism, the body, like we have body, and they also have ruh, the spirit, but they are hidden, they because they are made of fire and we are made of clay, right? So, but they also have same system, children, reproduction, and all everything is exactly the same as us, and they are scattered all over. And what actually happened was that when Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was born, or before his birth, these jinnat, they were free to roam around the world, go wherever they want, and because they had the powers and strength, extra strength, so they would fly up into the air and reach all the way into the, in fact, the clouds. They could go in the clouds, and where the angels are normally. And what normally happened according to the ahadith, and these are ahadith, actually authentic ahadith mentioned in Bukhari Sharif and Muslim Sharif, that these angels, when they were getting orders from Allah Ta'ala, after receiving the orders, before they started to implement the orders of Allah Ta'ala, they would talk about it in the above the heaven, in the sky, and these jinnat, uh, and they also have the good and bad in them, like we also have good and bad human beings in the same way they have also. So they would go in the air, go above the clouds or in the clouds, and try to hear what the angels are talking about. And this was obviously all the planning which Allah Ta'ala had given them about how to implement for the future. So they would hear it, and then they would come down and go to these magicians or kahins. These magicians existed all over, and they would inform them that this is going to happen, and this is so. These magicians would use those things to trick people and make money or whatever. You see, so this was happening until the birth of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. At the time of the birth of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, all of a sudden, Allah Ta'ala gave the order to the angels that no one is allowed to come even up to the cloud levels now. If anyone is coming, because he had to protect the revelation, so he said that no one is allowed. If you see anyone, then throw fire at them. And this fire is actually, which are in Surah Jinn also and Surah Aqaf, Allah Ta'ala has mentioned about these that they were the angels, as soon as they saw these people coming trying to reach up, they would throw if you like, a meteorite right? And when we see the meteorite coming down, and this actually was a burning, red charcoal, if you like, of fire, which would come down and to hit them and get rid of them. And so these meteorites were fired at them, and sometime we say this is a broken star, if you like. A star has splitted and then it's coming down. We sometimes see in the sky, but in reality, after the birth of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, now they were hit, and they couldn't reach and they couldn't get any further information. So they all sat together, all the jinnat in this nation of jinnat, and they said, well, what has happened? What has changed in this world? Suddenly that we are unable to reach and we are unable to get the information from the heavens. So we have to find out what's going on. So the leader actually made several groups, and they said we have to roam around the entire world to find out what is this new thing which has happened, which is stopping us from reaching the clouds and the heaven. So they sent out delegations. So these delegations were roaming around, and it just so happened now that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is coming back very disappointed and disheartened from Taif, and he is in this valley of Nakhla, and he is reciting the Quran. And as they are, as he is reciting the Quran, there is a group of jinnat. I think in the hadith is mentioned about 9 of them. They actually are passing by. According to one riwayat, this is the most one of the authentic riwayat of that they are passing by, and they hear the Quran for the first time in their life. And when they hear they become standstill. Quran is such, such power, internal power it has, as we have learned also, that even these tribe leaders, Abu Jahl and Walid ibn Mughira and all these, when they heard the Quran, they couldn't stop. They were they were surprised, and it emotionally took over them. So when these jinnat, they heard the Quran, subhanallah, they immediately said to each other that this is the thing, and what is being read here, we accept 100%. So they became immediate Muslim. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam doesn't even know about this at this stage. He's just reading his tahajjud salat, and he doesn't know that all this is this delegation, and they accepted, and they were so flabbergasted that they actually went back. Now they said, definitely this is the reason why our entry has been stopped in reaching the clouds now. So they came back and they informed the leaders, and now they said they went back. In fact, they not only became Muslim at, as as they're saying that love at first sight. So they actually, as soon as they heard the Quran, they became Muslim. And they now, according to Quran is telling us, they went back as Nazir, warners and inviters to their nation, that look, we've heard this kalam, and this is 100% truth kalam, and we have accepted it. You also have to accept it. And we must find, and this is the reason why our entry has been stopped. And it is something really wonderful and glorious, and they created such situation. They said, we have to go and meet this prophet, this messenger of Allah Ta'ala, Muhammadur Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and we have to get we have to become Muslim. Right? So now the group came, and in a hadith is mentioned that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had approximately 6 different types of meeting with these jinnat, and because of course they were living their life, they were also non-Muslims, like the kuffar and mushrikeen. They also were, they had not, in them also, they probably had followers of Musa al-Islam and Isa al-Islam. And in fact, this is what they said, that this is the kalimat of the previous prophet of Musa and Isa al-Islam. We haven't heard anything like this from since then up to now. So definitely, so they came now, they made a plan to come to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And now meanwhile, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, after finishing this, Allah Ta'ala now revealed the Surah Jinn. This is the ayat which I read in front of you, where Allah Ta'ala informed Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that these group of jinnat, they have come and they heard you, and they accepted. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam realized, and this is a bit of a great sort of itminan, if you like. He's feeling at ease and peace because of the big hard ordeal he has just faced. Now, if Allah Ta'ala, in other words, is saying to him that if humans are not ready, we have another nation ready to at your service, and they are ready to accept Islam. And then Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is making his way back to Makkah, and we discovered that he wrote to several, and the person who took protection, Matam bin Adi, with his sons, he decided that he's going to protect him and he brought him back to Makkah, right? So this is the, and now at this point, the this huge group of jinnat, they arrive near Makkah in one of the jungles, and Rasulullah, one of them, they come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inform him that we have come to hear from you and get advice from you and instructions from you that how we have to live as a Muslim, right? So this is the, inshallah, very interesting situation and interesting story which is inshallah, and it will be unfolded in the next lesson, inshallah, lesson number 30. And meanwhile, I would like to encourage everyone that we see very few people are at the moment. Maybe it's because of the holiday period. This is a time when we should try and make the most of these lessons. And inshallah, we hope that we get a big audience next week. Please try and prepare others, inshallah. And because it's going to get very interesting, inshallah, that how these jinnat, they actually came into the fold of Islam, and the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the instructions he gave them, because they also obviously have they had to worry about now, as we Muslims, about halal and haram. So what became halal for them, and what was the situation, all these things Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave them the guidelines. Inshallah, we'll hear about it next week, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.